titanium. So I picked up this new old stock tail bag the other day. See, all these fenders already have the holes cut in them. I don't think this one's ever been fitted. It's just a bit dusty from storage, but everything looks brand new otherwise. Just got sort of slots in there. You can buy all the nuts and bolts and the spacer new, but it works out to be about $20–30 or something just to get it. So I just made up some spacers just before. So I just had these nuts and bolts lying around, some washers. Spacers are 9mm. Spacer should be 9x9 and then big enough to fit your 6mm bolt. Bolts should be 25mm long. At some point I'm going to strip all these stickers off and clean up these plastics, but for now I'm just going to stick this one on. So these bags, I guess for stuff like tyre levers, spare tube or whatever, because there's actually a toolkit up underneath the headlight behind the number board. There's a little cutout in there, and you have your little little leatherette bag of tools. Goes in there and held in with like a battery strap sort of thing. So I'll get one of those at some point too, or assemble some tools anyway. Alright, that's our little tail bag on there. It's the plastic in there is, designed to match the tail. I think it's probably water resistant, don't know. Big loops on there for if you got gloves on. Yeah, this one came out locally for a pretty decent price. I had been looking for one for a little bit, just online, and maybe get one off eBay or something and have it shipped over. I see plenty of Honda ones, red ones and stuff, but there wasn't any of these blue ones. There was a company that's, I think, USA based, but they're manufacturing out of Bolivia, makes copies, and then they make one that expands up to about there, so you can fit quite a lot in. So that was going to be my first choice, but this one will do. I think I can almost fit my camping setup in that. But fit a little bit of lunch, sandwich or something in there when you go riding is probably alright. So that's the tail bag done, and that's pretty much all there's left to do. I'm still waiting on some parts that you'll probably see in the rest of this video. Just the the output shaft seal O-ring. It's got a little bit of a leak, and so the Z drips a little bit on the ground there. I want to fix that before I take it in for the inspection. Inspection I haven't been able to take it in or book it yet because we've been under another couple of lockdowns the last couple of weeks, so I've been waiting 3 weeks for the parts, those seals, a couple of screws to go on the headlight, and I haven't been able to book it in, so that'll probably be the end of this video. We'll see it getting loaded up on the trailer, and I think it should just go through pretty easy. Everything's been done on this bike now, the lights work. The main thing, being an 85 and having been registered first registered 1989 in New Zealand, this bike. Makes it quite a lot easier to go through the inspection. So I don't foresee anything strange coming up. I've put some bikes through before and about the same ages, and they will go through, no worries. I think the only thing I've ever failed on is one of my mirrors was loose. They didn't like that, so just tightened it up and it was a pass. Yeah, what else have I done? I did a weld on that steering stop. I noticed when I was turning the handlebars hard left, this upper bolt there was touching the tank. Being a plastic tank, it's not going to dent it, it's going to put a hole in it. Then you can't get these tanks new anymore, or replacements, it's not available. So yeah, I just welded a bead on that steering stop and it's just stopped it enough. So both sides got that same amount before they hit the tank. If you were to bust the tank, you could fit one of those later steel tanks. You'd have to change the front mount. These ones bolt on, and from all the DR200s we have here, or the DF200s we have here, they have that sort of like road bike. Take the bungs and it like slots onto the bungs. I'm pretty sure you could fit a DR250, DR350 aftermarket tank. If you want to get a bigger one, I'm pretty sure one of those would fit. You'd get one of the off-road ones that has the bolts. They look pretty similar. I don't think there'd be too much different. Potentially you'd have to make a couple of changes, but if that's your only option, that's not too bad. Yeah, I haven't taken it for a ride or anything yet. So once I've got a number plate and stuff on it, I'll have to go for a little first ride around here. Alright, some of the other seals I ordered with that last lot. New O-ring for the sump plate. That sits under the engine, and it's got your wire gauze there, filter. This one here was pretty clean. It just had a little bit of couple of little crusty bits in it, maybe bits of old carbon or something. So that cleaned up alright. I'll put that back in. The seal on here was, you can see how flat that is. Totally, probably original. So 30 years of heat and oil has taken all the spring out of that O-ring. So a new one sits above the surface there. The other one was dead flat. I think there's probably been a bit of oil leaking past there. So I just put that mesh back in, put the sump and the plug back in. I'll give it some fresh oil, and then put the sump guard and everything else back on, and it'll be running again. Alright. Should have an arrow printed on it. That should be, I think, going forwards. Yeah. Cool. That's hopefully the end of any leak. Alright, and we can put our little factory skid plate on there. So here we are a couple of days later, just got the parts come in. How good are original Suzuki parts, I love getting those. So we just got some screws there, a couple of little screws. Those go on the headlight housing. I just need to find some little flat washers. I didn't bother ordering those because they're just little generic ones. A lot cheaper just to get them out of my scrap pile. That there is the output shaft seal, and that's the little washer, the O-ring that goes on top of that. So we'll get stuck into that today, and that should be the last bits needed done before the inspection. So you can see I've had a bit of a oil leak coming out of there. That's just from sitting or the bike's not running. So I originally thought it was the sump seal around the bottom, but I've replaced that. And then I sort of noticed up around here was quite greasy, so I'm betting that it's coming from there. So we'll take the sprocket off, and then I think we can take the spacer out behind it and figure out a way to get that seal in and out. I'd already loosened that up the other day, so it should just come off. You're quite wet around that output shaft. So there's our seal out. Our little take our washer, spacer out. Now it looks like that's really stuck in there. I see all these splines are sort of full of some hard something, maybe mud or something in there, rust. So I haven't been able to get it out. And the reason I want to get that out is I can see that the surface that the seal runs on has a noticeable groove in it. And there's maybe a notchy bearing behind that. Then I had a look through my spares, and one's totally seized onto the engine. I don't think it's going to come out. I found another one that's worn all the chrome surface off, but it's, I don't know, arguably in a bit better condition. But I think what I'm going to have to do is put that seal on and then strip this engine down at a later date. You know, I have ordered a new spacer, possibly a new bearing in there. Doesn't sound very good. But that's alright. We'll put that in and order all the parts for next time. This only needs to hold the oil in long enough for them to test the bike. So not ideal because it's probably going to destroy this new seal, but that's what I'm stuck with. Now I just get a big socket and knock that in. They went in alright. I don't know if I put it in too deep. Well, it sounds alright, and with that seal in where it is, it looks like it's actually gone past where that main bit of wear is on the spacer. So I don't know, I'm sure it's in too deep. I'll have to have a look at the manual, but if it works, I guess. I'm sure it'll start leaking in due time. So I might just start the engine up and see what happens. warmed up there and give it a few RPM to get that shaft spinning. I don't see any oil coming out anywhere, I don't think. I think there's just a little bit left over in this sump guard. There'll be some underneath it because that's where it leaks out. So that's probably good enough for now until I can get another spacer and strip the engine down to get the shaft out, and I'll probably need to press that spacer off with heat maybe. It's really well stuck on there. The one on the other bike is like totally rusted, so well, there's one engine left that I haven't checked, but that one's got its own problems, so it can stay together. So now we just put our chain sprocket and then chain guard back on, and then we're ready. I'd like to know why Suzuki thought fit to have these 3 bolts as a 7mm head rather than everything else on the engine. It's a bit of a pain. So I noticed the other day when I had the fuel line off that the Petcock was dribbling even in the off position. So I went and got a just another fuel Petcock, just a cheap one, you know, generic one. It's what's on there on the bike now is the same as this, I think, just a replacement one. It looks like in the manual here the original one's got a fuel strainer, same as like the GN style one that's on there. The 87 bike over there's got a different one again. I've got an old one off an old GN250, but I think it's past it in the seals, so cheap enough just to replace this whole unit, and then cheaper than even getting a set of seals, I think. So we'll do that today. I'll probably take the tank off to do it, but you can get under there and wiggle a screwdriver around if your tank's empty. So just going to take the bike apart and drain the fuel out. So here's our new one. It's shorter, but as long as that little top piece doesn't rub on the tank, it should be okay. Like, as I say, this is not the original one either, so a shorter one is not the end of the world. Yeah, so before I put this on, I've swished some clean gas around in it, gotten out anything that was loose in there. So just give it a bit of a trial fit and see what we like. And yeah, there's heaps of space there for the lines and everything, and the body of the unit. So I already put that rubber gasket in there, maybe Vuitton or something. I'll just put it back on. It's not a major on this sort of tank. If those threaded nuts in there had come loose, it would have been a bit of a problem. Or you do occasionally get the screws will corrode in there. Especially on the steel tanks, they can corrode in there and then they snap off. So we'll do this up evenly, and I want to get it reasonably tight, but not don't need to force it. That's about as tight as it would go. Looks like the seal's on there well. So I'll switch that to off. To reserve on. Looks like it's going to be alright. So before I put everything on, I'm just going to put some gas in it, and I'm going to leave it on the off, see if it leaks. So we've got our new Petcock on there. It's nice and dry, no leaks around the outside anyway. Before I put it on, I just left it on off to see what would, if anything would leak out, and it was alright, and then tested it on and off, and reserve and off, and everything seemed to have come out alright. So hopefully get a bit of use out of that one. Put a bit of new fuel line on there, so it looks like it's all leak free now, so that's, I think, everything to do on this bike. So just back from the testing station, bike went through no worries, came through with a clean sheet even on the Warren Fitness, so pretty good for an old bike. The only problem was the guy, I don't think he could figure out how to start it, being just a Kickstarter. He reckons he was trying to kick it, but I didn't hear it. So I think what he was doing was pushing that engine stop, thinking it was electric. But I came over and started it on the second kick, so, and then his sort of riding test, brake test, was just right at about 20 meters into the shed, and that was enough. So I don't know if they normally do that, or he was too scared to try and start it again. Anyway, we'll unload this and maybe take it for a ride.